2026 meeting of the Lewis and Clark County Commission. Will you please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to introduce the folks on this end of the meeting room. To the far right is Roger Baltz, our Chief Administrative Officer. Then TJ Murphy and Nico Hash from the County Attorney's Office, trying to keep us legal and in proper form. And Commissioner Candace Payne, and I'm Tom Rolfe, Chair of the Commission this year. Commissioner Hunthausen is not here today.
Am I?
Yes. Our next is Brandy Grandy, who is our recording secretary. She'll keep track of all of our proceedings today, and Jenny Chambers, Director of Public Works and Planning. There is a sign-in sheet on the other side of the bar. We ask that you sign that sheet and leave us an indication of how we might reach you if we have a question. Also, there's an agenda out there as well. Looks like we just have one consent action item this morning, Mr. Baltz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioner Payne. This is item 3A on the agenda, vendor claims report for week ending April 10, 2026. Staff recommends approval, and Marni Bentley is here today as usual. Thank you.
All right. Any questions about the consent action item? Is there any public comment? Any public comment on the consent action item? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
We can probably get a motion done. Mr. Chair, I move that we approve consent action item number 3A as presented by Roger Baltz.
Second. We have a motion and second. Any further discussion? Any further discussion?
I always think we should ask Marni something. She sits out there patiently. She does all this work. She is a recognized expert in her field, but no questions.
Thank you for being so efficient. We appreciate it. All right. We'll move on to a vote. All those in favor of approving consent action item 3A, as explained by Mr. Baltz, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 2-0. Next item on our agenda is action item 4A, contract between Lewis and Clark County and Carroll College. Alyssa.
Good morning, Chair and members of the Commission. My name is Alyssa Spies, and I'm the Criminal Justice Diversion Coordinator at Lewis and Clark County's Department of Criminal Justice Services. What you have in front of you today is a contract with Carroll College for the facilitation of a camp for children who have incarcerated parents. So in alignment with voter priorities that were identified in the 2017 levy and under the direction of the Citizens Advisory Council, Lewis and Clark County's Criminal Justice Services has completed a request for proposal for a camp for children who have incarcerated parents. The RFP received one proposal from Carroll College, which the 5-person panel rated an average score of 93 out of 100. The proposal is for a 2-day summer camp that will be held July 30th to the 31st of 2026 for children ages 12 to 15. The staff will consist of 5 faculty members and 5 students from Carroll College, with other faculty, staff, and students involved in specific activities. To lower costs and to increase community involvement, Carroll will partner with local organizations like the Diocese of Helena and Shodair Children's Hospital. Camp activities may include an obstacle course, a scavenger hunt, cooking and baking, sports, 3D printing, and fishing/kayaking. Additionally, to ensure continued support for campers and their families, Carroll will also coordinate monthly follow-up events for camp participants. And these events may include a movie night, football game, climbing night, cookie baking, escape room, skiing/sledding, picnic, and bowling. Carroll's proposed budget totaled $41,197 and was under the contract limit of $45,000. After completing the RFP process and finalizing contract negotiations, CJS is requesting contract approval. I would also like to note that we have a representative from Carroll College here, Dr. Kaylin Borden, she's right there, in support of this proposal and available for any questions. I would also like to add that this program reflects the intent of the voter-approved 2017 levy by focusing on breaking cycles of justice system involvement at the family level. It creates a space where children with incarcerated parents can feel seen, supported, and connected to one another, reminding them that they are not alone. Just as importantly, the ongoing monthly events following the camp will also help to build relationships with caregivers and connect families to resources and a broader sense of community, supporting stability and positive outcomes well beyond the camp experience. I am available for any questions that you may have.
All right. Would doctor from Carroll College like to make a comment?
Hi, Commission. I apologize, my voice, I'm just recovering from a cold, but we are so excited.
Excuse me, if you just state your name first.
Sorry, yes, my name is Dr. Kaylin Borden. I'm an assistant professor of sociology and criminology at Carroll College. And we are so excited for this opportunity. We think that it's very beneficial for the community, specifically for the children and their caregivers. And we're happy to answer any specific questions that you have.
All right. All right. Any questions?
Of course. This is just so exciting to get it started. But when I think of Carroll College, I do not think of, running children's camps. Who is going to run this? Is it, do they stay overnight, or is this I want more detail, please.
Sure. Great question. So we decided to start with a 2-day day camp this year because there's a lot more planning and logistics that go on with an overnight. And Carroll does have a long history of hosting summer camps for athletics. And so we're going to be drawing on a lot of those same resources. There's a lot of systems already in place. And so we've already been in talks with like vendors and insurance and all of those right people. But we're hoping to potentially expand to a full week and potentially overnights in the future, but to make sure we do it well and on a short time frame, because it is coming up in a couple months here, we decided to just do a 2-day camp this year. And it will be from 8:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. with about an hour, half an hour to an hour buffer time for drop off on either end.
Okay. Another question, please.
Certainly.
I assume you've done research in this kind of thing. Are there other programs of this type in existence that we can use as a model? And could you give us a little rundown as to how they work and how long they've been there and how successful they've been?
Absolutely. So we are not the first college to do this. Actually, Providence in Great Falls has been running Camp Sky Child. And do you know how many years that's been? For about 35 years. It's been going on for quite a while. And so we have
Camp Sky Child?
Yes.
Really? And it is for children of incarcerated. Wow. Okay.
Yes.
For it.
Yeah. And so they actually have more of an outdoorsy, week-long overnight experience, which we hope to eventually work up to. But again, we wanted to start small. And that program is actually run by a professor in the law department, who's a lawyer, and that's her specialty. And so we have reached out and made contact with them and gotten some notes. Alyssa actually went and observed the camp and has shared some notes. And so, we're definitely using them as a framework.
I'm just so excited, and I have so much hope for this kind of a program. Over the years, I've seen the constant passing down of the same values or lack thereof, and it follows the generations and the families. And if we can work toward breaking, and even if we can't get everybody, if we can get a few of them, it is a start. So thank you for what you do.
All right. No other questions at this point? All right. Is there any public comment on this item? Any public comment? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve action item 4A, the contract between Lewis and Clark County and Carroll College as presented by Alyssa Spies.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? I do think it is a great opportunity to maybe break the cycle and get some kids an opportunity to have a good start in life. So I think it's worth the effort. All right, if no further discussion, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor of approving the contract between Lewis and Clark County and Carroll College, as explained by Alyssa Spies, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 2-0. Next item on our agenda is a contract between Lewis and Clark County and MMW Architects.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Payne, good morning. Ann McCauley, Director of Grants and Procurement. Before you today is a contract between Lewis and Clark County and MMW Architects, PC, for the completion of a preliminary architectural report and a grant application to the Montana Department of Commerce Community Development Block Grant Public Facilities Program for the proposed Lincoln Public Safety and Emergency Operations Center. As we've spoken at, I think it was the December, or probably actually October, November, Lincoln Government Day. This is a project that Lincoln has been pursuing for quite some time to do a consolidated emergency public safety center where their fire, search and rescue, ambulance services, and then our Lewis and Clark County Sheriff's Office, satellite office in one facility to be more coordinated, have better response times, and a more central location within the Lincoln community. This contract is for $62,500, and with $50,000 of that being through the CDBG Planning Award and $12,500 being provided with our local matching funds. The performance term is upon signature by both parties and goes through September 15th, 2026. I'm happy to answer any questions, and staff recommendation is to approve.
Any questions from the commission? Any questions from the commission?
I'll ask you a question. We haven't seen you in a while. Good morning.
Good morning.
How much support does this kind of a change, because we're changing the way Lincoln has been doing things and change is not always welcome, but is there support to have all of these entities under the same roof?
Yes, Commissioner Payne, thank you for that question. The original CDBG planning application that we submitted, I believe, had 6 or 7 letters of support from different entities within the Lincoln community that were saying, yes, we do support this. Obviously, those entities that I mentioned, Lincoln Fire, Search and Rescue, Lincoln Ambulance, and our Sheriff's Office are all contributors on the match. So those are the primary stakeholders. I believe there was, in the letters of support, it was both the Lincoln Community Council, the Snow Warriors group, but also local businesses that were supportive of this this planning effort to see what we could do for a proposed public safety facility.
Okay, and this is one more question.
Sure.
This is strictly for the facility itself. It doesn't have to do anything with if there's a person there all the time or what the radio contractor is going to be. This is strictly the boards and foundation, and just it's the building, not anything else.
Yes, Commissioner Payne, that's correct. And this is just the planning effort to do that initial design. Through this preliminary architectural report process, it will go through alternatives. Like if there's a more suitable site than the one that's kind of been preliminarily selected, it will go through cost estimates of different layouts, of different options. So it's really going to be a full comprehensive planning project that will help us get to the next move of actually constructing the building. But it is just for the building and the facility, no operations.
Thank you, Ann. No more questions.
All right. Seeing no other questions, is there any public comment on this item? Any public comment? I see no public comment. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve action item 4B, the contract between Lewis and Clark County and MMW Architects PC as presented by Ann McCauley.
Second. We have a motion and second. Any further discussion? Looks like a good opportunity to kind of get our feet in the water a little bit and see if something like this is practical up there, and maybe start prodding around for some grants that might help us fund that. All right. Any further discussion? We'll move to a vote. All those in favor of contract between Lewis and Clark County and MMW Architects PC as explained by Ann McCauley, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion and all opposed, same sign. Motion passes 2-0. Let's move to item number 4C, professional services contract between Lewis and Clark County and Frontier Pest Solutions.
I'm Christian Leonard, Lewis and Clark County, Noxious Weed and Mosquito Supervisor with Public Works. Before you this morning is a request to approve a mosquito surveillance and abatement contract with Frontier Pest Solution for services within Craig Wolf Creek Mosquito District. The proposed contract will be in effect from May 1st, 2026 through October 30th, 2026, which corresponds with a typical mosquito season within Lewis and Clark County. The Craig Wolf Creek Mosquito District provides mosquito surveillance and abatement services in the district service area to monitor mosquito populations and reduce the risk of mosquito-borne diseases, including West Nile virus. In January, Public Works solicited proposals for interested parties to provide a mosquito surveillance and abatement program for both the Helena Valley and Craig Wolf Creek mosquito districts. Proposals were due February 2nd of 2026. One proposal was received, An evaluation team comprised of myself and four other board members from each mosquito district was formed to score proposals based on the evaluation criteria established in the RFP. The evaluation committee voted unanimously to move forward with the contract negotiations with Frontier Pest Solution. Under the proposed agreement, Frontier Pest Solution will conduct surveillance through larval monitoring and adult mosquito trapping to track mosquito populations throughout the season. When surveillance thresholds indicate elevated mosquito populations or potential disease risk, the contractor may implement larval or adult mosquito control measures using approved biological or chemical control methods. Control activities may include ground-based or aerial applications depending on site accessibility, mosquito population levels, and environmental conditions. The total cost of this contract is $15,000 for the 2026 mosquito season. Funding for these services are included in the approved fiscal year 26 mosquito district budget. Staff recommends approval of the mosquito surveillance and abatement contract with Frontier Pest Solution for the Craig Wolf Creek Mosquito District for the period of May 1st, 2026 through October 30th, 2026. I'm here if you have any questions.
If I remember right, we have two districts in the county for mosquito abatement, and this one we're talking about now is up in that Wolf Creek Craig area and further north to the county line, I suppose. And then the other one was that's coming up in the next item is more down in the North Valley. They're paid for by the people that live in those district areas. Is that correct?
Chairman and Commissioners, yes, they are two separate special districts, and all the individuals that live within those boundaries are the ones that pay the assessment for mosquito abatement and surveillance.
Okay. Any other questions for the
Yeah, Christian, this was, for years we had, I can't think of the guy's name, John, and he had an airplane and he'd been he sprayed for mosquitoes. Did he not apply or did he get old and die or what became of him?
Chairman, Commissioner, we just received one proposal, and that was from Frontier Pest Solutions. So
Okay.
we did not receive any other proposals.
Okay. All right. Any other questions?
One more. Do we have a separate contract for, it appears to me that there's areas of the county that are not within this control. For example, Lincoln, do they get a different contract or do they not have the problems that we have in the valley?
Chairman, Commissioner Payne, they do not have a special district up in Lincoln for mosquito abatement. I believe the Craig and Wolf Creek and Helena Valley, they were created in the 70s and 80s. So we've been following those since then. So yeah, no, there's nothing in Lincoln for mosquito abatement. They would have to form their own mosquito district.
Thank you, Christian.
Yep.
That's all.
All right. If there's no other questions from the commission, is there any public comment on this item? Any public comment? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve action item 4C, the professional services contract between Lewis and Clark County and Frontier Pest Solutions as presented by Christian Leonard.
Second. Have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor of the professional services contract between Lewis and Clark County and Frontier Pest Solutions related to the Craig Wolf Creek area, mosquito district, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes 2-0. Now, let's go on to the other mosquito district in the North Valley.
Again, good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioner. Again, Christian Leonard, Lewis and Clark County Noxious Weed Supervisor, Mosquito Supervisor. Before you today is a request to approve mosquito surveillance and abatement contract with Frontier Pest Solution for services within the Helena Valley Mosquito District. The proposed contract will be in effect from May 1st, 2026 through October 30th, 2026, which corresponds with a typical mosquito season in Lewis and Clark County. The Helena Valley Mosquito District provides mosquito surveillance and abatement services in the district service area to monitor mosquito populations and reduce the risk of mosquito-borne diseases such as West Nile virus. In January, Public Works solicited proposals from interested parties to provide a mosquito surveillance and abatement program for both the Helena Valley and Craig Wolf Creek mosquito districts. The proposals were due February 2nd of 2026, and one proposal was received. An evaluation team comprised of myself and 4 other board members from each mosquito district, was formed to score proposals based on evaluation criteria established in the RFP. The evaluation committee voted unanimously to move forward with the contract negotiations with Frontier Pest Solutions. Under the proposed agreement, Frontier Pest Solution will conduct surveillance through larval monitoring and adult mosquito trapping to track mosquito populations throughout the season. When surveillance thresholds indicate evaluated mosquito populations or potential disease risk, the contractor may implement larval or adult mosquito control measures using approved biological or chemical control methods. Control activities may include ground-based or aerial applications, depending on site accessibility, mosquito population levels, and environmental conditions. The total contract or total cost of the contract is $223,000 for the 2026 mosquito season. Funding for these services is included in the approved fiscal year 2026 mosquito district budget. Staff recommends approval of mosquito surveillance and abatement contract with Frontier Pest Solutions for the Helena Valley Mosquito District for the period of May 1st, 2026 through October 30th, 2026.
Could you give me the rough boundaries of this district out in the North Valley?
Yes, Chairman, Commission. So the westward boundary line is pretty much Applegate is sort of like the good boundary line. It does continue to go up, and then it goes up north to about Prairie Road is like another good landmark that it follows all the way across about to where Lake Helena Drive is, north and south. So it's sort of like, that's where it sort of gets the box there. And then it does go down to about like Custer Avenue, Canyon Ferry, or Canyon Ferry Road heading out east. And then it does come down around like into East Helena. I'm in the mosquito district as well. And it goes down and picks up some of those old Osarco ponds that are down over there by like Kemet, down along that area. And then later on, they did add the Bird's Eye area. So like sort of out by the fort, heading out that way later on, they did annex that part in. So sort of have like the square, and then you have that little section where it goes out into Bird's Eye.
And the property owners within that boundary are the ones that have a special assessment to pay for this.
Chairman, Commissioner, yes, yep.
Okay, all right. If another group of people wanted to get a mosquito district, how would they go about doing that? And maybe somewhere else in the
Chairman, Commissioners, they would just like doing any other special district for roads or wastewater or whatever. They would have to come together as a community and put forward that and petition to go through that whole process of adding a special district. So,
all right.
And I don't believe they can be annexed in. I would have to ask on that, but I don't think there is any more annexing in. You would have to dissolve the old one and then recreate a new one.
But currently, those folks have a special assessment on their property tax that pays for this. It doesn't come out of the general fund budget or anything like that.
Chairman, Commissioner, yes. Yep, I have it on mine, and I can see my mosquito abatement on my tax roll. So yeah, that's a special one that we pay for. So,
all right. Any other questions?
No.
All right. Is there any public comment on this mosquito abatement district? Any public comment? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve action item 4D, the professional services contract between Lewis and Clark County and Frontier Pest Solutions as presented by Christian Leonard.
Second. We have a motion. Second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor of the North Valley Mosquito Abatement District budget and award of this contract as explained by Christian Leonard, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 2-0. Our next item is final plat application and subdivision improvements agreement for the Fassbender Minor Subdivision.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Greg McNally with Community Development and Planning Department. You have before you requested final plat approval for the Fassbender Minor Subdivision. This preliminary approval for this project was granted by the Commission on March 22nd, 2016, subject to 14 conditions of approval. All conditions of approval for this project have been met or otherwise addressed with a proposed subdivision improvements agreement, which is also included in your approval package here. The staff recommendation is approval of the final plat application and to enter into a subdivision improvements agreement with the applicant. Commissioners, this project is located just north of Munger Road, west of and adjacent to Bowie Boulevard, as shown on your screen. Commissioners, this project involves essentially the creation of 3 lots through subdivision. That's lot 6A. This lot is for the man-made lake and also a parking lot and a boat dock and boat ramp for the lake. Lot 6B, which will be for a new single-family residence, and Lot 6C, which is for an existing single-family residence. In addition, Commissioners, you don't typically see this, but there's also an exempt lot being created on this plat. It's a lot for an agricultural use. So this is a agricultural exemption that's used. So this lot that's being created could have been created at any point in time, but is actually being created with this plat, just so there's just one plat as opposed to 2. So not included in this subdivision, but that lot is being created here. The final plat, as I said, included 14 conditions of approval. Just to highlight some of those conditions, and they're more detailed in your report. There's a DEQ approval for water and wastewater and stormwater. There's a stormwater approval, as well as the requirement to construct a couple of stormwater ponds. One of those ponds has been constructed. The other one is financially guaranteed through the subdivision improvements agreement. There's a weed plan that's been reviewed and approved. Fire protection has been provided through the grassland subdivision, which is adjacent to this project. There is a proportionate share of impacts to offsite roads. There are address assignments for the lots created. Mailboxes have been provided, plat preparation, and that's what you'll sign today if you'll approve the plat. County notifications have been prepared and signed by the applicant. The improvements, again, have all been completed or otherwise guaranteed. So we have that one stormwater pond that is financially guaranteed through the subdivision improvements agreement. Taxes have been paid, and the lien holder has given approval to the applicant for division of land. And as you know, the preliminary approval for this project has been extended multiple times, but we're still within that preliminary approval period. So that said, staff is recommending approval of the final plat as well as to enter into the subdivision improvements agreement. And some details on that agreement. This agreement is, as I said, for the construction of a stormwater detention pond that will be located in the southern portion of the subdivision. My mouse doesn't want to show it, but it's just below the lake there. This is for the amount of $3,050. That's based on a cost estimate prepared and certified by an engineer, Ryan Kasney, reviewed and approved by our county engineer, Dan Carlin. That $3,050 includes a 25% contingency in case the price goes up before the improvement can be completed. And the agreement requires that the improvement be complete by February 19th, 2027. So it's approximately a year to complete that agreement. That's pretty typical for us when we enter into these subdivision improvements agreements. If you have any questions of staff, I am available. And I know the applicant's here as well.
Just a question I have. It appears from the reading that well, this starts out just talking about 3 or 4 lots. Then do the rest of those lots kind of eventually kind of combine with the rest of the lots in the area?
So the lots you see there in purple, which is I think what you're talking about, Mr. Chair, Commissioners, those lots are an existing subdivision, the Water Ski Mania Estates subdivision. They're separate and apart from this particular project, although they are adjacent to the lake.
And is there a joint ownership with the lake? And
it is the expectation that the applicant did indicate that he is going to enter into the covenants with these folks, with this particular subdivision, as well as provide this lot 6A, which is the lake and the parking area and the boat dock and the boat ramp for the HOA.
Okay. All right. Are there any other questions, Commissioner Payne.
Could you explain to me Lot A? I didn't realize that was going to be agriculture, or are they going to raise corn or hay, or could you give me a little detail on that?
So part of the one of the exemptions that you can enter into for the creation of land, right? There's family transfers. There's this agricultural lot. Sometimes you can create a lot for cemetery use. In this particular case, this is an agricultural exemption. It creates the lot, and the lot will only be allowed to use for agricultural purposes. So there won't be a house on this lot. There won't be commercial use on this lot. It's only for agricultural purposes. It's allowed to be created through the exemption process. So we review that use of that exemption and then approve that. And then it's shown on this particular survey. In the past, and Mr. Fassbender can maybe speak to this a little bit more, but in the past, I have seen cattle from an adjoining property owner onto that, utilizing that property. So that's what I would probably anticipate would be continued, but that's again up to the property owner.
Any other questions?
I have several, but I'm still trying to wander my way through an agricultural lot. And I'm maybe Mr. Fassbender can answer my questions as to why you'd want an agricultural lot as part of your subdivision.
So, Mr. Chair, Commissioners, and it does get confusing, I understand. This is actually not a part of the subdivision. It just happens to be, because it involves this property, we're going to show it on this particular survey. It could have been created. He could have filed and created this parcel through another survey prior to us bringing this forward to you for final plat for these other lots. It just so happens we're going to combine the effort with one survey, one document. It's a more efficient practice.
Does Mr. Fassbender want to add anything?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Payne, Mike Fossbender, 3930 Bowie. We live in the end lot. So that ag exemption, I have a neighbor who has cattle. He's on the other side of Bowie. So I just entered into handshake deal with him. I bought a wheel line for it, so we irrigate it. He controls the weeds on it, and then he moves a few of his cows over there just to keep the grass down periodically throughout the summer. But it's in a floodplain too, I'm pretty sure, so it's not really a buildable lot anyway. It fits with just a spot to throw a few cows on to eat the grass.
What's the source of your water rights on this property, including the ag property?
There, Commissioner Payne, I don't think there's any water rights associated with that north lot. So the lake gets filled with a well that was, I think the original lake owner, when he built the lake, he got that, and it runs about 300 gallons a minute when we tested it last time. So that's what we used to fill the lake. We also have water rights from 10 Mile, but I don't know, 15 years ago when it flooded, it washed out our diversion. So we still monitor that, and so Brian Heaney, who lives on lot 5, he keeps a pretty good troll and pretty good watch on that just to maintain that water right, to see. Sometimes it gets down the ditch, but I don't think it's ever gotten past like the first house there. There's still a ditch there and a head gate off of 10 Mile, but we just haven't been able to get water out of it for several years.
Thank you for explaining that. I'm always interested in the water in the valley.
There's lots of it. Sorry, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. When we had to do a test well on lot 6C, when we started this, and we hit water at about 3 feet when we were digging that for the septic. So the groundwater there we're sitting on a lake basically out there.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Any further questions?
I've got a question for Greg, please.
Okay.
Greg, one of the primary issues we deal with in addressing the issues of the preliminary approval, or not of the preliminary approval, but this 14 conditions of approval. Okay, have all those conditions been met, all 14?
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, all 14 conditions have been met or otherwise addressed with that improvements agreement. So the improvements agreement covers the one condition regarding the construction of the stormwater pond, which is effectively met through the entering into the subdivision improvements agreement. We will monitor that to make sure that that gets installed, and once installed, we'll inspect and release the financial guarantee to Mr. Fossbender.
Okay, thank you. I have no more
All right.
questions.
All right. Seeing no more questions from the commission, is there any public comment? Is there any public comment? I don't see any public comment. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve action item 4E, the final plat application and subdivision improvements agreement for the Fossbender Minor Subdivision as presented by Greg McNally.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion from the commission? Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor of the final plat application and subdivision improvements agreement for the Fassbender Minor Subdivision, SUBD 2026-003, as explained by Mr. McNally, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes 2-0. Next item on our agenda is item 4F, Resolution 2026-18.
Good morning, Commissioners. Lindsay Morgan, Land Use Planner for Lewis and Clark County. Today, you'll be considering resolution number 2026-18 regarding the creation of a 5-member consolidated land use board with an effective date of May 17th of this year. Prior to making a decision, the County Commission will be holding a public hearing. Notice of this public hearing was given in the Independent Record on March 21st of this year. Just to give you a little background, on May 3rd, 2001, the City of Helena and Lewis and Clark County entered into an interlocal agreement to establish a consolidated city and county planning board. Section 6 of this agreement states that it shall continue until such time that either party terminates the agreement by resolution of its governing body, and after giving the other party a minimum of 90 days written notice of its intent to withdraw from this board. On January 26th of this year, the county received written notice from the city of its intent to withdraw from the Consolidated City and County Planning Board with an effective termination date by the Helena City Commission of no later than May 17th, 2026. Now, because the city will be withdrawing from the Consolidated City and County Planning Board, the County Commission will need to establish a new board to assume its responsibilities. Two options that have been considered by planning staff include a county planning board and a consolidated land use board. Both boards do require a minimum of 5 members. However, a key difference between the two boards is that a consolidated land use board will function as 3 separate boards: a planning board, zoning commission, and board of adjustment, while a planning board will only serve as a single board, the planning board. The CDP staff is recommending that a consolidated land use board be created, as state law allows for the county commission to establish a consolidated land use board to assume the duties of all 3 boards. The planning board's responsibilities include reviewing and making recommendations to the county commission regarding a growth policy, subdivision regulations, the initial adoption of Part 2 zoning regulations and classifications, and major subdivision plats, among other duties. A zoning commission's duties and roles include recommending amendments to the county commission regarding Part 2 zoning regulations and classifications, And a Board of Adjustment's responsibilities include making decisions regarding Part 2 zoning appeals, conditional use permits, and variances. While Lewis and Clark County already has a Board of Adjustment, the county has never had a zoning commission. Should the county commission choose to establish a consolidated land use board, the commission office will need to advertise the new board openings. In addition, CDP staff plans to mail letters to all current board members, that would be the current planning board members and Board of Adjustment members, encouraging parties interested in serving on this board to apply. State law does require that the appointed citizen members serving on this board reside within its jurisdictional area, and state law also requires that the board adopt bylaws that clearly define the roles and duties of members when acting as a planning board, a zoning commission, or a Board of Adjustment. Do you have questions for me?
In the past, one of those boards, the Planning and Zoning Commission, I believe, has had elected officials on it, not just members from the public. In fact, the elected officials have been more than half of the members. Let's talk a little bit about the effect here and what it means to the people.
Sure. Chairman Rolfe, the Planning and Zoning Commission will actually remain as a board. It is a Part 1 zoning board. A consolidated land use board can only work to apply to boards that are either county initiated or Part 2 zoning boards, or Part 3, which would be for municipalities. So being that the Planning and Zoning Commission is a board for a Part 1 zoning regulations, that board will remain and will not be a part of this.
And if I remember it right, Part 1 are citizen-initiated zoning areas, and Part 2 are government-related, commission-related zoning.
Chairman Rolfe, you are correct.
Okay. All right. Other questions?
I'm still confused as to the titles. So we will have a zoning commission strictly for the county, probably 5 members. Okay. And they will only deal with Part 1 zoning.
Chairman Rolfe, Commissioner Payne. So there's 2 different types of zoning in Lewis and Clark County. We've got our Part 1 zoning, completely separate set of statutes. And then we have our Part 2 zoning. The Part 2 zoning, you can choose to have a zoning commission and a Board of Adjustment to address Part 2 zoning. Lewis and Clark County has never had a zoning commission. That's something where we've had the duties of the zoning commission sort of taken over by our county planning board. So they took some of those duties that a zoning commission would normally have. So we've operated with those 2 boards, Board of Adjustment and Planning Board, taking over all of the zoning related duties. So this board will be for Part 2 zoning and all other planning related things that are subdivision related and things like that. They will take over, and you will have a planning board making recommendations to the county commission on the initial adoption of Part 2 zoning, growth policies, subdivision regulations, major subdivision plats. You will have a zoning commission that will make recommendations to the county commission regarding amendments to the zoning instead of our current process, which is the planning board making those recommendations to you. And then the Board of Adjustment will still have its same duties that it takes for Part 2 zoning. Separate from that, so this board is, those 3 different boards will fall under this one board, but this board will not assume any duties associated with citizen-initiated zoning in Part 1. So recently you had a project that came before the Planning and Zoning Commission, and then you've got another one next week. That board will remain, and it will provide recommendations to the county commission, just like it always has, as a recommendations regarding citizen-initiated zoning. So that board will remain, and that is completely separate. It's just unfortunate it has a very similar name. You've got Planning Board and Zoning Commission, and that board is called Planning and Zoning Commission.
Yeah, that's why I'm a little confused, but I know you people have it under control, and I hope our citizenry is not as confused as I am.
We have about how many Part 1 zoning areas?
Commissioner Rolfe, about 35. It also is
These are the
confusing because
citizen-initiated ones.
that's correct.
Okay. The work we're doing here would be related to only the commission-related.
That's correct.
Zoning ones. Okay. All right. Any other questions?
No.
Is there any public comment on this? Is there any public comment on this proposal? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve action item 4F, Resolution 2026-18, a resolution to establish a consolidated land use board as explained to us by Lindsay Morgan.
Second. We have a motion and a second to establish a consolidated land use board as explained by Lindsay Morgan. Any other discussion on that? Any further discussion from the commission? Seeing no further discussion, we will move to a vote on this item, Resolution 2026-18, a resolution to establish a consolidated land use board for Part 2 zoning only, I guess would be the proper way to say that.
Chairman Rolfe, it does more than just the Part 2 zoning. It will there's subdivision related growth policy, those kinds of things. So you could technically say it will establish a planning board, a zoning commission, and a board of adjustment for Part 2 zoning.
Okay. All right. Thank you for clarifying that. All right. We have a motion on this resolution 2026-18. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes 2-0. We've arrived at the end of our items of the agenda. We always set aside time for public comment on any public matter within the jurisdiction of the commission that's not on today's agenda. Is there any public comment? Please turn the mic on, and if you would give us your name and make your comment.
Good morning, Chairman Rolfe and Commissioner Payne. My name is Roy Caldwell. I'm a candidate for Montana House District 84, and I reside in Lewis and Clark County, Precinct 21, just north of the intersection of North Montana Avenue and Lincoln Road. This week, I received a letter from the Elections Department of Lewis and Clark County stating that Jim Darcy Elementary School will no longer be used as a polling place in my district. I later learned that precincts 4, 12, and 28 will also be affected by this decision. Through election judges, I understand that individuals from precincts 4 and 28 will now be doing in-person voting at the Lewis and Clark County Fairgrounds, and that folks from precincts 12 and 21 will now be doing in-person voting at the Helena Valley Community Center, 3553 Tyser Drive in the Central Valley. For myself, instead of walking to my polling place, I will have to drive almost 10 miles. I'm concerned that citizens who are used to in-person voting at Jim Darcy Elementary may feel disenfranchised having to vote at locations far away from their normal polling places. Furthermore, I am concerned that the extra volume of voters, potentially 3/5 or 60% more than normal due to the extra precincts being added to these 2 polling locations, will cause voters to just turn away. Yesterday morning, I went to the city county building and talked with Connor Fitzpatrick, the county elections division supervisor, and he is here today. He said that it was relayed to him through Helena School Superintendent Rex Welts that the longstanding use of Jim Darcy Elementary as a polling place would no longer be allowed. Mr. Fitzpatrick was told that the reason he had to do with student safety. Afterwards, I called the Helena Public Schools to set up a meeting with Mr. Welts. Later yesterday afternoon, I did receive a phone call from Justine Alberts, the elementary assistant superintendent. She stated that the district's decision to disallow use of Jim Darcy Elementary as a polling place has to do with prioritizing student safety during times when the public would be using the same facility. She said that at Jim Darcy, they do not have the ability to lock down the polling area from the student use areas. The elections department did use Jim Darcy Elementary as a polling place in 2022 and 2024, but the school district did not feel that safety of the student body could be ensured and disallowed its use this year. I asked Ms. Alberts to ask Mr. Welts if he would address this decision in his weekly newsletter to the district, the Superintendent Welts Friday Flyer, so that the public can understand the reason for the decision. She said that she would pass along the message to Superintendent Welts. Mr. Fitzpatrick and his coworkers at the election department said they had looked at other locations in the area, but none had the adequate space to accommodate their needs, meaning to accommodate the polling places that were disallowed no longer at Jim Darcy. I stated that I had talked to the lead pastor and one of the elders at Big Sky Fellowship, which is to a church with substantial space to meet the election polling needs, and that they were willing to host. Big Sky Fellowship is less than 4/10 of a mile from Jim Darcy Elementary. Mr. Fitzpatrick stated there wasn't enough time to change the polling place from the primary election on June 2nd, but that if Big Sky Fellowship met requirements, there may be the possibility of having that location be used for the general election in November. My hope is that at least for the general election, if Big Sky Fellowship can be used as a polling place, voter disenfranchisement will be minimized. Thank you for allowing me the time and opportunity to speak. I'd be happy to answer any questions the commissioners might or others might have.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Is there any other public comment?
Connor Fitzpatrick, Lewis and Clark County Elections Division Supervisor. Just to add a little bit to all of this. So first of all, more than happy to engage with the folks at Big Sky Fellowship. There are a few other counties that do utilize churches as polling places. So while on the one hand you do have the kind of separation between church and state, you do also have members of the community stepping up. So more than happy to engage with them and check out the space. The reason why we didn't beforehand was because we were a little concerned about some of the contract items, but at the end of the day, maybe in retrospect, we probably should have asked and gone, hey, can we maybe work with you on this contract? But with the North Valley, I grew up there, so looked at a myriad of other locations as well at the same time. Indeed, we asked DNRC if they were available. They were concerned about having polling places on site in June due to firefighters. November would have been great, though. Unfortunate that we could only get half the equation there, though. Montana Law Enforcement Academy, unfortunately, could not host us due to the classes that they have on site. We also checked in with, I believe it's called Liberty Baptist Church there on the intersection of Green Meadow and Sierra. It was one of my two last-ditch attempts, essentially, because they have a very nice assembly hall separate from the church, and they told me that they could not rent that out due to liability reasons, which Totally understand that. No problem there, other than the fact that I have to keep searching, of course. And then chatted with, gosh, I know that there were at least a couple of other places. We had been looking at this for a few months, trying to go, okay, goodness gracious, where can we fit 4 polling places out in the North Valley? Because Jim Darcy is at such a great location. They're right there, very close to the interstate for anyone who might be coming back from Helena after doing like their errands during the day. It's pretty much right at the confluence of 4 separate precincts right out there in the North Valley. Was very, very disappointed that we had to move, unfortunately, even after trying to meet the concerns of the parents that were stated by having a sheriff's deputy posted on site all day long, which is different from the rest of our polling places. And even then, they did not engage with the elections office directly so that we could have a one-on-one conversation. They instead went directly to the superintendent of the school district, who then told us in no uncertain terms right out the gate, no, you cannot use this as a polling place anymore. So I do wish that we had been able to continue to use the area. Happy to engage with Big Sky Fellowship, of course, though. We are getting rather close to the primary election, but definitely review the statutes, make sure that, okay, if we can utilize the space, can we utilize it for the general? Are we looking for the future more there? And definitely happy to keep the public generally appraised of what's going on as well. Polling places are important because at the end of the day, that's where a fair few folks go and cast their ballot. Even some absentee voters will bring their absentee ballot with them to the polls after looking over the ballot and going, okay, let's research these candidates. They will take that to the polls and cast their ballot there. So having those in good locations is very important. So happy to answer any questions that either commissioners may have or members of the public as well. Feel free to drop by our office, contact us in any of the myriad of ways. Thank you.
Is there any other public comment? Is there any other public comment? Seeing none, we're adjourned.